Hi everybody and welcome back to IT Tuesday. So today's video we have an interesting one. Today I'm going to be going over my current computer specs and we are going to be going over as well what kinds of upgrades I would do to my computer and why. Why I would be choosing what I would, why I would be going between different parts, and what to kind of look for when putting a computer together. Let's roll right into it. Alrighty, so my computer, I built this computer. So let's back up a little bit. So my first computer that I built, it was I might have the part list somewhere. One second. So my very first computer build, when I was, let's see, when was this at? This would have been, let's see, 2018 when I built this computer. So I put together, or actually, is this my computer or is this Michael and Jordan's? They're very similar builds. This is my computer. Okay. So when we put my computer together back in 2018, it was the first time that I started building and working with machines, and I was very excited to do this. I had saved up a good amount of money to be able to actually make a good product and something that I could use in my workstation when I'm at home. And it was a Intel i5 machine. It had a Cooler Master hypercooler on the top. It had a Gigabyte Z730 HD3P motherboard, some G.Skill RAM, DDR4. I also had a 1 terabyte Western Digital Blue hard drive in there with a 500 gigabyte SSD SATA. Actually, that mine had an M.2 in it. My buddies had the SATA drive to start. This would be actually, so this computer is actually Michael's because I had a 1060 graphics card. This is a 1070. So my computer I built back in 2015. So it's very similar parts. Same motherboard. I think I had an i3 or an i5, but it was a lower processor count. I think mine was a 4-core processor. Needless to say, I needed some upgrades. So in May of 2020, when COVID hit, I was ready to make some changes and make my workstation computer. And that's when I created the upgraded Beast. And this computer, which is the current system that I'm running, had, when I first built it, because I've made some adjustments, was the AMD Ryzen 9 3900X with a 12-core, it's a 12-core processor. That was my main beast part of this workstation. I had this liquid cooled with a Cooler Master ML240, which works really well. I am having a little bit of trouble with it now that it's been used for a while. I may need to switch that part out, which we're going to go into in a little bit here. The Asus Prime X570P. I love this motherboard. I've built 2 computers with this motherboard. It works very well. It's a very easily socketable computer monitor motherboard. Wow, my words are not working today. But it's very nice. I really enjoyed using this, putting things together, and actually the layout is very well put together for it. I'm using two 16 sets of 32 gigabyte RAM for G.Skill Trident Z Neo for my memory. It is 3600, but I think I clock it at 38 with some overclocking settings in the motherboard. I also have a Western Digital Blue 500 gigabyte SSD as my main boot drive, and I am using a Seagate Barracuda 2 terabyte 3.5 drive as my main storage. That's what I started with. I also had a Corsair MP600 4 Series 1 terabyte Gen 4 NVMe SATA in there. That is a M.2 SSD. So with this and this, that was my main workhorse where my software and things were installed on the main hard drive. My case is the Cooler Master Mastercase H500. And if you haven't seen this, this case has 2 400 millimeter fans on the front, and it is spectacular. I love this case to death. And then I also had a 750 watt power supply in this, which I actually ended up getting an 850 Rosewell because the Corsair one wasn't available, and then the Rosewell I ordered from Newegg. So that was when I first put this computer together. Over time, I added a few other parts. I actually have 2 more Barracuda drives in this computer. I think one may be a Western Digital. I have a 4 terabyte and a 3 terabyte. And then I also have one new NVMe. It is a Samsung Evo Plus. It's the red one. I am going to put a link to it here. I think I talked about it in a different video when I talked about storage. So if you wanted to go check that video out, there's some information about it there as well. I love that SSD. It is the fastest SSD that I've ever worked with, including this Corsair one. They both are super, super fast. I've never had a drive like that runs as fast as that one does. And I will continue to use it. Right now it's my game drive, but I could definitely use it for other things as well. It's a very, very good, very, very good drive. So why did I put this together? I built this computer primarily for creating content. This is my workstation computer. My initial plan was to keep the original computer I built and have it sidecar with this one. So that way I would have a recording and a streaming machine, but I actually gave it to my little sister instead. So I am using this as my primary workstation. Everything is all in one. I record, capture, stream, and that's why you guys see sometimes some of the behind the scenes crashes and issues that I get, because I'm doing all of the heavy tasking while working on the same machine. And it does the job. The CPU is threaded very well to be able to do a lot of the performing tasks I have. Oh, one thing that's not mentioned on this list here is that I had a 2060 8 gigabyte 2060 8 gigabyte EVGA card in this machine when I built it. Took that from the other computer and gave Paige back the 1060. And then on my workstation now, I actually have a 3060. So I've done some little part upgrades here and there. The 3060 I have is the Asus Tough Gaming Prime something or other. I'll put a picture of it here. I have the box. I'll show you guys what it is. I love this computer. It does the job. I have had some complaints, but that's the part of building your own machine, is there are some things that you just need to keep upgrading and working on. And as you start increasing and doing different tasking, especially while rendering and recording and doing all the stuff that I have been, I definitely do see a slowdown as I go. But that's the part of this. It's part of this is why I wanted to do it like this, to be able to get something that looked really cool and to be able to get it working. And so I use this computer primarily for 3D modeling. I use it for streaming, recording, editing videos, trying to capture 4K, playing games in 4K, working in high resolution video and 3D scenes that take up a lot of memory, so that way I can move around the scene and operate. Now, there are some things that I would definitely change to my new computer when I put it together, whenever that is, that make a difference, and mostly it's just because some of these parts have aged out. For example, my storage, I probably would never use an SSD like this, a SATA SSD for my storage again, only because it is running a little slower than the rest of my drives. So some of my bootable tasks are taking up a lot of room, and since the C drive holds a lot of data, I'm starting to lose room on that drive as well. I would also upgrade to 32 gigs of RAM. 64 gigs of RAM, because a lot of the tasks I do are more RAM heavy than I expected. And even at 32 gigs of RAM, I think right now my system, while recording, I have Audition running in the background. I'm not 3D editing or anything right now, but while we're looking at our performance here, make sure you guys go check out our video about Task Manager so you guys know a little bit more about this. I'm using 14 out of 31 gigs of RAM right now, which is half. And that's a lot. And Chrome does eat up a lot of RAM while you're using it. I probably am going to end up switching browsers here soon, because it does eat up so much RAM for the kind of looking up and searching I do while making these videos. But there are some things that I would definitely do different about this. And that's why I'm going to go over with you guys my upgraded list. So my upgraded list starts off pretty big with the newest Ryzen 9. Now, there are some spec differences that people have been talking about between the newest Intel chips and the ones that are coming out later, but this one is still threaded better for performance instead of for gaming, which is what I am looking for. As much as I do game and play things on here, I want to have a threaded machine that is built for my workload, and that's really important to me. And this 4.7 gigahertz threaded 12 core processor, it gets that job done. Now that's the same kind of cores, but it is at a higher rate. 4.7 is a huge jump between 3.6, so I think it would make a difference. And even when I bought this, the 3000 series Ryzen chips were going out of the line as I had built the computer, and then the 4th gen came out just a few months later. So I was already depreciating what I had by purchasing that one, but it was a good deal when I got it. And even right now, that's not a bad price for a Ryzen 9. I mean, this one here is $549. I don't have the money to pay $500 for a new CPU right now. If I was to choose something different, I would probably drop down to a Ryzen 7, and then maybe put a little bit more money into the graphics card, which I do have listed here. And so let's keep going. Let's go through this list a little bit more. The liquid cooler. So the Cooler Master cooler that I have currently is a nice cooler, but it has slowly been going out on me, and I've had problems with it since it started working. These all-in-one coolers, they shouldn't have any problems with bubbling or anything like that. They should have a really long shelf life. Mine is starting to go out. So I actually picked this NZXT Kraken. They are rated a little bit higher and have a little bit of a higher threshold when it comes to RPM for the fans. And since my system is usually running hot, I have to run the fans a little bit more and to be able to try to accommodate for that. So they're running all at the same RPM. And I want to make sure that they stay at that. So that's why I picked that one there. I chose this Asus TUF Gaming X7 or 670E Plus Wi-Fi motherboard only because of the 670 branding, as well as some of the features that it has. The 670 is the higher tier for these new processors that are coming out, and it allows for some of the higher PCIe functionality for those. I could totally lose Wi-Fi. I don't mind, because there's no real need to have Wi-Fi on a system that if you're going to hardline it anyway to be able to use your networking. It's nice to have in a pinch, but I would prefer to be hardwired if I could. I chose D-Skill Trident again for the RAM because I really do enjoy this RAM. It's very snappy. It picks things up and remembers things really well. I would go up to 64 though, maybe even 128 if I was feeling bold, but the price point on these right now is really high. DDR5 is not readily available yet, so any DDR5 that you could look for is going to be really expensive at the moment, and that's the base load that you can do in these 670 ones. I also did the same kind of base storage setup because I would be transferring a lot of the hard drives over from this machine to the other machine when I put the new one together. So I only put an extra 2 terabyte hard drive, the 970 or the 980 Pro 2 solid state, that will be the faster drive, and I would be booting off of the SSD and then keeping the Barracuda as my storage drive. I also would be upgrading the system to a 3080 Ti. There's no reason to go up to the 40 series yet. Not that I could tell. There wasn't too much of a dramatic difference between the 40, but if I needed to upgrade the graphics card in any way, I would probably go up to an 80 series. The 80 series is the better graphics card. And if my 2060 didn't go out on me when I did, I probably would have waited to purchase one. But I ended up getting a good deal on a 3060 when I got it. So I'm happy with the one that I have. I'm also looking for a little bit of a more compact form factor, but also the same airflow. So I chose a Leon Lee case for that. A little bit more pricier, but they have a little bit more customization with where you can line your fans up, and as well as how you can open the case up to kind of get a little bit more airflow in there. I probably would choose a little bit of a darker style though. But as you can see here, as we get to the bottom of the list, this price point for this kind of a computer is really pricey. So this is definitely what it would be, another workstation type build. I want to make a video sometime soon about what to look for if you're first starting out. But I'm not an expert on this. I worked at Best Buy for a few years, and I am very much a hobbyist when it comes to this kind of stuff. So in the comments below or in the description, I'm going to put a few YouTubers that I watch to help build this up. Lions Tech Tips, what's his name? Jay's 2 Cents, Bitwit Kyle, I can't remember the third one. Gamers Nexus. I'm going to put those down in the comments below, so that way you guys can be able to take a look at those tools as well, like I did, to be able to put this kind of a video together. And to know what I do about building computers, because they have a lot of interesting stuff out there, and there's a lot more that I don't know that people would really enjoy. Am I ready to build another computer? No, absolutely not. This computer works fine until this one dies on me. I do have the Mac back there that kind of helps supplement some of the workload that I've been doing if I need to go on the go. But realistically, if I'm doing what I can, I'm going to be just fine for a while. And that's the nice thing about knowing when to upgrade. So make sure you guys stay tuned, because I will be having a video about that soon, about when to know when's a good time to check for upgrades, when's a good price point to look for certain things, especially if you're just changing parts out, and how to kind of tell when a part is going bad. We're going to be having a video on that pretty soon here. But that's it for today. So until next time, guys, keep creating, save the pain, facepalm. I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.